Good evening, everyone. It's 6:20, and this is our second attempt this evening. So I welcome you all to the November 17th, 2025 council meeting of the Town of Lincoln. I would like to begin by reading a safety notice. In the event of an emergency, please evacuate council chambers to the nearest exit through the chamber doors and obey all instructions given. If assistance is required, please see Madam Clerk. And once you have evacuated the building, please gather in the front parking lot outside of Town Hall. Please ensure you place your cell phone on silent or turn it off. And lastly, the Town of Lincoln Council meetings are posted on our YouTube channel. Closed captioning is available on all our videos by selecting the closed captioning button on the bottom right of the video. The Town of Lincoln, being part of Niagara Region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawauntaraunk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Regional Municipality of Niagara stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Recently, on November the 1st, we had the occasion to share with the community and with our Indigenous allies the official opening of Shore Rezone Park, located in the Jordan Valley. There have been a number of press releases that have been issued describing what a wonderful occasion it was, including great weather, including the five bald eagles that turned up just at the right moment. And I think that you will agree with us that it's an excellent symbol of the Indigenous Lincoln relationships and our intention to ensure that we can, where it is practical, support the principles of truth and reconciliation. In addition, I want to draw your attention to this medallion that now is attached to the chains of the mayor of the Town of Lincoln. It is a medicine wheel. The medicine wheel is a symbol of, it is a sacred symbol representing the interconnectedness of all life, and it is a teaching tool for spiritual and physical healing and promotes balance in our lives. It's a good symbol that represents the intentions and also the time that we are taking to learn how to communicate with and work together with our Indigenous allies. I think it's very important to also note that it is accepted universally by all nations. This particular medallion was designed by an Indigenous artist from Haldimand. It is unique, and it is a special artifact that now is part of the council case of artifacts. Thank you very much. There will be more information about it issued in official press releases. We move on to the roll call. Members of council are in attendance, with regrets from Councillor Mikulik. We have staff in attendance this evening. We also have in attendance Brian Bratt from the Kristen French Child Advocacy Center in Niagara, and we have Regional Councillor Foster. Do members have any amendments to the order of the agenda? There being none, are there any declarations of interest?
No. Those are for announcements?
Yes. We'll move on now to item 7, which is announcements by members, and we have 3 people on the list, starting with Councillor Timmers. Go ahead,
Thank you,
Councillor.
Mary. Thank you very much. Sorry, I jumped in a little early. I just heard the A. I thought it was announcements. So I have just 3 very quick announcements. So October 30th, I attended the Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce Economic Summit. There were a number of us there. It was, as usual, a great event to be at, and lots of great information. And November 1st, I was at the ribbon cutting with you, Mayor Easton, and I believe Councillor Pachariva in the Jordan Village. It was the Strong Paws Dog Training new business, and right beside it is a canine cartel dog grooming. And we got to meet the Little Dog Cartel, who is the mascot. Great. I really wish them all the best in their new businesses, and it's really quite convenient having them side by side there. I cut a few out because it's been a really busy time, and there's still a lot more coming. But November 13th, we were at I was there with a number of people at a table from council for the Greater Niagara Women in Business Awards, and I just want to give a shout out to Liliana Busnello, who was nominated. She didn't win, but we still think they made a mistake because she's well deserving and she's a winner to us. And also a shout out to Carol Frewer from Community Care West Niagara. She was also nominated that day as well. So always a great event, always really exciting to see women in business and women being acknowledged and supporting each other. So thank you, Mayor Easton.
Councillor Murray.
Thank you very much, Mayor Easton. On October 30th, I was very pleased to be able to be part of the opening of the museum's Fall 2025 new exhibition, which is titled Through the Grapevine, Winemaking in Niagara. It's an excellent exhibit that highlights the growers, makers, and community leaders who helped shape our region's winemaking story, capturing its evolution from early experimentation to the world-class wine industry that we enjoy today. I really encourage everyone to stop by and explore the exhibit. You won't be sorry. And if you stop by the Starlight Market at the museum this Friday from 4 to 6, it'll be a wonderful opportunity to not just see the exhibit, but also visit local craftspeople and vendors and kick off your holiday season. I was also very pleased on November 4th to join fellow town councillors and staff at the Wrapped in Courage Pancake Breakfast, supporting Jillian's Place as part of the Women Abuse Prevention Month. It was an important opportunity to increase awareness around gender-based violence and raise funds to support the vital services that Jillian's Place provides to women and families across our community. And finally, I wanted to just send out a little reminder to anyone who gets up at the crack of dawn that tomorrow morning, 610 CKTB is going to be featuring Lincoln in their Niagara in the Morning. We're going to be live from the Fleming Center, and we'll be talking about a lot of really interesting things happening in the town. So set your alarms and show up. It's from 5:30 until 9 a.m. Looking forward to seeing people there.
Thank you for representing council at the changeover of the exhibit at the museum. Councillor Pachariva.
Thanks, Your Worship. So on Friday, November 7th, along with yourself and Councillor Murray and Mr. Kirkopoulos and Councillor Reimer, we attended the Bravehearts dinner for the Kristen French Child Advocacy Center at Central Niagara and Niagara on the Lake. Joe Pilateri did an outstanding job, as always, as MC for the evening. All of the entertainment was fantastic that night, but the special secret guest was Tim Hicks, who stole the show. But the best part of the whole night was that the event raised $167,000 for the Advocacy Center. So it was a great night. Food was fantastic. The company was fantastic. Looking forward to next year already. So number two, attended the Remembrance Day ceremonies, November 11th, at the Beamsville Cenotaph. Special thanks goes out to the Poppy Campaign Chair, Comrade Terry Miller, who did an outstanding job. Canon Ian Chadwick, Branch 612 of the Royal Canadian Legion, the cadets that were there, the Lincoln Fire and Rescue, and all who purchased wreaths this year. That was, you had mentioned, and we had talked about it, that was the most wreaths that we've ever seen at the Cenotaph. There was tons of people there. And the commemorative crosswalk provided an awesome background to the event. And third, as was able to attend the funders portion of the West Lincoln Memorial Hospital opening on Friday evening. As Grants Committee Chair for the Wise Guys, we sponsored one of the neonatal rooms, which was really, really special, really cool. We'd like to, give the funds towards youth, and also have a shift to some of the elderly, because those are the two spectrums that dominate Niagara. And it was just awesome to see that. Having been on council since 2003, when we made that initial call with Councillor Foster was here, and we received a lot of pushback from the start. It's never going to happen. And again, I personal touch when they had the vigil in 1997, and Pam Thurgood, who used to give the tours of the neonatal, came and asked when we had our business if we would do the hot dogs for the night. Pam, anything, because they were wonderful. Anyone that's ever been to West Lincoln, it's service among none, right? You get West in, even when Alex's invisible friend, Hoots, told him to put a pebble up his nose. And we were there and emerged for a couple hours, though we did get it out. And it is so important to have a community hospital where, the majority of people know you, and you get great service. And it was just the culmination of all of that coming forth, the money set aside where people thought it wouldn't happen, and were actually asking for a rebate on their taxes. Well, I hope no one gets sick, but if you do, that's the place to be. So thank you very much.
Councillor Russell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hard to top a pebble on the nose, but I will try. I think all of council would have received a notification this week about the BIA's new executive director, Jennifer Blackledge. I wanted to welcome her. She will be joining us effective this week. We have our annual general meeting this coming Thursday, if anybody's interested, at the Smoke and Moonshine at 12 o'clock. And again, Jennifer apparently brings a lot of, knowledge of the region. She has a lot of skills that are going to be applied to the role that we're all very excited about. And at the same time, we want to wish Stephanie Hicks good luck in her endeavors in the town of Lincoln. Again, she has been absolutely, a pillar of the BIA for the last few years. And again, we appreciate everything she has done, and we look forward to working with Jennifer going forward. So if anybody has Thursday, 12 o'clock to 1 open, we hope to see you at the Smoke and Moonshine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Councillor Njima.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 3 items. First, an update from the Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee. We had a meeting on Thursday, and I thought it outlined some interesting things that happened there. We had a presentation from Tim Jennings, who is the CEO of the Shaw Festival in Niagara-on-the-Lake, and they're in the process of renovating the very old King George Theatre, and also present was their architect, Unity Design Studio, who outlined in detail the lengths that they're going to make sure that the theater is going to be accessible from all perspectives. They're following not just the building code and the AODA requirements, but a much higher standard, which is the Rick Hansen accessibility standards. It was outlined for us that if one was to follow the building code only, we would receive a grade of 44% when it comes to accessibility, but meeting the Rick Hansen standards receives a grading of close to 82%. The renovation, from my understanding, involves primarily the interior only, sort of an infill renovation. So there's a lot of detail work that goes into the renovating the interior and being sure that they implement all the accessibility requirements that they're planning, which includes many accessible washrooms, accessible seating for viewers, ramps, visual accessibility features, audio accessibility features. They're really going to great lengths to ensure accessibility, and it was very inspiring. Included will be all of the accessibility requirements for the performers as well, from the change rooms right to the stage. And an update from the Chamber of Commerce.
The Chamber had its quarterly meeting with the town's Economic Development Department this last week and discussed items for collaboration and mutual assistance where possible. These ongoing meetings have been very helpful in terms of keeping connected regarding mutual goals, including taking steps to ensure that we are doing all that we can to provide opportunities for local commerce and, of course, jobs for residents. Also on the agenda was a light review of the status of the recently established destination marketing organization with the City of St. Catharines, and I believe that coming to council soon will be the drafted bylaws and the service level agreement. And finally, on Thursday, I had the pleasure of attending the Ontario Water Summit put on by the Region of Halton and the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, of which our mayor is a very active member. There were representatives from our Indigenous community, politicians, representatives from various conservation authorities talking about projects related to water and the power of water from an environmental, economic, and social perspective. Without water, what would we be? Basically nothing. We would cease to exist without water, and we're extremely fortunate to be so close to the fresh water, all the fresh water that we have, when so many communities all over the world struggle with that on a daily basis. We can't take it for granted, and we have to harness it, and we have to protect it. Lots of great work going on there, and it was an absolute pleasure to listen to our mayor speak about her role, not only as a member of the CLS-LCI, but also her ongoing role in developing and maintaining relationships with our Indigenous partners, who also spoke very inspiringly about the power of water and how the characteristics and flow of water are viewed as an inspiration of how we conduct ourselves and how we move and how we can and should move forward through life. We walked into the other room and walked around a very large floor map of the Great Lakes called Benogamy, which means pure and clean water in Anishinaabe language. The map uses augmented reality to storytell. So when you download the app and you point it at a feature on the map, it starts a 3D video on your phone, and this particular one of Lake Superior showed eagles in the air and sturgeon swimming below and tells a story about Lake Superior. That map is available for rent for events or, for example, our museum if we saw fit. The term of blue economy came up quite a few times during the summit. Water is not only something we should be protecting for economic, environmental, and social reasons, but also, as you know, councillors, we are personally liable for protecting our source water. But from an economic perspective, it's a gold mine in and of itself. If you get a chance to read up on that work that's being done by the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, which includes leadership of Mayor Easton, St. Catharines Mayor Matt Cisco, Port Colborne Mayor Bill Steele, and former MP Vance Badaway, it's worth a read or a watch of a few videos. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to add, I'll speak to other items in my mayor's report, but I just wanted to add that Dr. Liette Vasseur, who a number of you have met, is a professor at Brock University, and she's also in the Cool Climate Winology and Viticulture Institute. And her research is either interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary and links issues such as community-based ecosystem management, climate change adaptation and resilience, sustainable agriculture, and conservation. She does work all over the world, and she was involved through her connection with climate change adaptation with the first memorandum of understanding that the town of Lincoln had with Brock University. She was nominated for the Women in Business Award. We wrote one of the supportive documents for her, and she won in her category. So she certainly deserves that recognition, and she brings a lot to the work here at the town and in the entire Niagara region. So we'll move on, and I thank you, councillors, for all those items. It certainly was a very, very busy 4 weeks. Item number 8 is proclamations, and we have one proclamation this evening being to recognize December the 2nd, 2025 as Giving Tuesday. I'll read the proclamation. Whereas Giving Tuesday is an annual celebration of generosity and volunteerism, it inspires citizens to donate their time and money to charitable causes. Giving Tuesday has been celebrated in Canada since 2013, this year marking the 12th straight year. Whereas Giving Tuesday falls immediately after Black Friday, Cyber Monday, inspiring citizens to give to the less fortunate after taking part in the year's hottest sales. Whereas Giving Tuesday has generated over $1 billion for Canadian charities and nonprofits. Whereas through Giving Tuesday, Niagara Gives has helped to inspire nearly $500,000 for local Niagara organizations. Whereas Giving Tuesday offers Niagara residents and all Canadians an opportunity to come together to spread generosity at the kickoff of the giving season. And whereas the town of Lincoln recognizes and celebrates the incredible contributions of individuals and organizations such as Niagara Gives, recognizing the increasing need for their services, now therefore, I, Sandra Easton, Mayor of the town of Lincoln, do hereby declare December the 2nd, 2025 as Giving Tuesday. And the clerk will ensure that the proclamation is provided to the organization. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 9 is recognition and achievements. We have none this evening. Number 10 is declarations and presentations. We will now consider item 10.1, and we have Brian Bratt, Executive Director of the Kristen French Child Advocacy Centre, Niagara, in attendance to provide updates. And I welcome you, Brian, and please come to the podium and make your presentation.
Wonderful, thank you very much. I'm going to see if there's a presentation here for you. Here we go. Okay, well, good evening, Mayor Easton and members of council. Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the Kristen French Child Advocacy Centre. And to start, I realize that many of you may be quite familiar with the name Kristen French, but perhaps a little bit unfamiliar with the work we do at the centre. And so one place to start is to talk a little bit about the problem that we're trying to solve. So we know that in Canada, 1 in 3 girls and as many as 1 in 5 boys will experience some form of physical or sexual abuse before they are 18 years of age. We also know that 4 in 10 children and youth have been abused, of those groups, have been abused by a family member. 8 in 10 are abused by someone they know. It could be a neighbor, a family friend, or a relative. And statistics aside, we also know about a lot of the headlines that have been in the news, even the last 6 months. Incidents that have happened to kids in our communities that are almost unspeakable. The truth of the matter is that we know that it's not easy being a kid today. We know that kids face, a lot of complex issues, and when you layer on top of that things like abuse, neglect, and witness to violence, it can be devastating. And so when people ask what it is that we do at the center, the answer is simple. We transform trauma into triumph. And we do that by essentially giving back to kids what was taken away from them. So all of our work focuses around building kids' self-esteem, their self-worth. We reestablish a sense of trust with the kids we work with. We try and establish our staff as positive adult role models and give kids who have been victims of abuse, neglect, and witness to violence a positive look on the future. Now, these things collectively lead to a sense of resilience. And we believe that resilience not only helps kids navigate what they're currently going through, but perhaps more importantly, it gives them the necessary building blocks to be happy and confident adults later in life. And so what I'll also talk about is, before I get into kind of what we do, and you can see kind of on the screen our vision, our approach. One of the interesting things too is that we started off at the center
one thing that people may not realize is that we are the primary location of all investigations conducted by Niagara Regional Police and done jointly with Family and Children's Services in Niagara. So what that means is any time that there's an incident where the police have to do an investigation, it's done at our facility. And over the course of the year, we typically would do anywhere between 250 and 300 investigations a year. So almost one a day that we see. Our work really starts at that point. And we work specifically with all of those kids to make sure that all of them receive trauma counseling and play therapy. Now, we're very proud of the fact that we have a bit of a unique approach that ensures that not only do all those kids that come through the investigations get one-to-one counseling and therapy at no cost, but we're also able to achieve that without a wait list. In addition to play therapy and counseling, we offer a variety of what we call social support programs. So these are programs after kids come through typically the one-on-one supports. They're able to participate in a variety of programs, things like art therapy, drama, music therapy, yoga programs, and we're especially proud of a new girls-only leadership program called Empower that are all designed, again, to really establish a sense of resilience in these kids. The great part about these programs is to the kids, from their point of view, they're just fun programs. But what we believe is that it's very much played with purpose in the sense that we're really trying to instill the sense of confidence in these kids. One of the other advantages, of course, aside from the one-to-one therapy, is that within these programs, kids are able to interact with their peers. So they're able to build relationships and friendships that a lot of times will last their whole lives. The other program that we're most proud of as well is something called Camp Acorn. Camp Acorn was launched a number of years ago, and we're very proud of the fact that it is Niagara's first and only trauma-informed day camp. This past summer, we had camp programs in St. Catharines, Welland, Niagara Falls, and in Grimsby. And over the course of this past summer, we saw over 600 camper weeks. And so the program and all of our programs are not open only to kids that have experienced the most extreme forms of abuse and the ones that perhaps grab headlines, but we also support kids that have experienced all forms of trauma. This is the type of trauma that to us as adults may seem somewhat ordinary. So in other words, things like death of a loved one or witnessing a car crash or even living through a separation or divorce. As adults, these are things that we might perceive as part of life, but for an 8-year-old, it can be obviously very devastating. This trauma, if it's not resolved, can follow kids through their entire lives. And so it's not just those 250 to 300 investigations we do each year, but it's also reaching out to the broader community to support kids through our day camps and other programs. We're also heavily involved in prevention. We have great relationships with both school boards. The Kids First project is something we're very passionate about. And what this is all about is essentially that we're able to provide at no cost to schools presentations. These are anywhere between 3 and 5 presentations per grade from kindergarten all the way through grade 12. And all these presentations are also tied directly to the curriculum, so it's something that teachers really appreciate. Subject matter ranges. We cover everything from internet safety, bullying, all the way up as we get into high school about positive relationships. So as preteens are starting to date and starting relationships, then we give guidance and support to make sure that they're done positively. One of our newest programs that we're most excited about is the Child Victim Witness Program. And so this is a program where when I mentioned earlier about kids that have come through investigations, usually about, on average, a third of those investigations end up having to go to court. And so on the surface, this program essentially is court support. And so what that looks like is that we have specially trained staff that work with families, work with their kids, and in collaboration with the Crown to help explain the process, what court is all about. We help with victim impact statements. We help doing courtroom tours. And we're also able to do remote testimony, which is really a great program because it means that kids can talk about what's happened to them, testify in court without having to actually be in court and cross paths with their abuser. But This program, though, and everything that I've talked about so far is, our passion, of course, is helping support kids. But the work that we do has a greater impact that goes beyond that because it really helps support the overall justice system. And so let me give you a quick example, is that, when we work with kids that are going to court, for example, that can be sometimes as much as a year to a year and a half between the time that we first see them in an investigation stage to the point where they're actually testifying in court. And that's something that as adults, we might not realize that, but it's true that an 8-year-old, for example, may have to testify in court. So what does that look like for an 8-year-old? A lot of times, whether we talk about, court's intimidating for anybody, regardless of their age. It's intimidating for victims, again, regardless of their age. But what we do is we try and make sure that the kids that we work with are given the support and likewise have the courage that they're able to tell their truth with conviction. And that's really important because when you get to that stage where an 8-year-old is in front of a judge, sometimes in front of a jury, if they're able to, very confidently and convincingly tell their truth, the result is greater convictions. The result is easier work for the Crown. And, so not only are the benefits to kids somewhat self-evident, but the programs that we're doing, have a significant impact on our justice system. It's really important for us to see that not only are we making a difference in the lives of children, but that we're helping support, more broadly, helping support the work that we do in the courts. So, our outreach, we are based in St. Catharines, but we do serve all of Niagara. In addition to this, what I can tell you is we did a little bit of extra research, and in 2024, there were 24 children from this community that we saw at the center for the purpose of investigations. I don't know exactly how many of those kids went on to our court support program because we just launched that program in the summertime. And we know that there would be a larger number of kids involved in our programs in Lincoln because we just did our camp last year in Grimsby. But in 2024, there were about 24 kids that would have gone through investigations at our center. Overall, and these are, when I was looking at this, this is from 2024, and so things have changed quite a bit in the last year. 375 individual children and youth access programs and services directly at the center. These are unique individuals. That's 375 in 2024. In 2025, that number has risen closer to 500. 575 social support program visits. This is the number of visits kids would come to our after-school programs. That's risen a little bit. But what really has grown is our play therapy and one-to-one counseling sessions. In 2024, those were 328 sessions. On average in 2025, as we've grown and expanded that program, we were seeing upwards of 150 sessions per month. And what we're able to provide is all of that at no cost to families. Typically, kids that do get therapy and support see us for about 8 weeks or so, about 8 sessions over the course of 2 months. But that number has significantly gone up as we've been expanding our services and really stepping up to meet the need in Niagara. Now, all these things I've talked about tonight, for example, though, is we're very proud of the fact that we're able to do so without any core government funding. And while there are some projects that are specifically funded, the vast majority of our programs are all reliant on raising money and the good nature of the community, individual members, corporations that support the work we do. And I'd like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank Council and specifically Mayor Easton for the golf tournament this past summer that we were a recipient of a portion of that. So that certainly makes a huge difference in what we do, makes it that much easier for us and ensures that kids in Niagara that need help will get help. So we're certainly very appreciative of that and hope that we may be considered again in the future. And before I finish and open to any questions, one of the things that's really important to me personally too is the fact that, again, it's not enough for an organization to talk about how they serve Niagara unless they're in the community. And so, Camp Acorn was a very important thing for me too, because it gives an opportunity to open those programs in communities so that families could access these programs and services, in their own backyards. And I had some excellent meetings in the last little while, and I also want to thank Mr. Kokopoulos for the time in providing a tour last week, and that what I'd like to announce is that we are very interested in bringing Camp Acorn in 2026 to this community. So we would likely start that as a 2-week trial, but we feel it's very important that we have a presence in Lincoln, and that would be an excellent place for us to start. While we, again, do support kids at our main center, it's important that we are here and serving kids where they live. So thank you again for the time. Thanks for the opportunity to talk a little bit about what we do, and if time permits, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much, Brian. I must say, we had a great time at the Brave Hearts Gala. It was a good turnout with our crowd, and I think you're going to have to come back because we didn't really hear anything about the human trafficking program, which is pretty important, and we really must know more about that. It's becoming such an issue. We can't just let that. We can't gloss over that piece. So we'll welcome you at a future time. So, councillors, any questions? And I see Councillor Njima is on the list.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation. So my question is about, Camp Acorn for one, but the other programming that you provide at your various sites. First of all, how does one find out about the schedule for these programs and camp services, and who is able to access them? Are they, I'll let you answer that. Thank you.
So let me start, I'll start at the last question. So our programs are open to all. Certainly that we work one-on-one with families that have come through the investigation process, so we're able to offer them support directly. But we are open to the broader community. So we do a certain amount of promotion in the community in terms of letting people know about our programs and services and how to access them. But I will also say, though, that one of our, we do work very closely and collaboratively with the school boards. And so the schools, they know their kids. They know a lot of times kids that are struggling, kids that do need a little extra support. And so we have a direct line with the school boards for providing one-to-one counseling and therapy for them. They're able to help give referrals, direct referrals to a lot of our programs, and specifically summer camp. So we were able to fill camp with the support of the school boards, plus a number of other local agencies as well. A lot of the, so Jillian's Place, Birchway Niagara, Big Brothers Big Sisters, just to name a few. We work with them to make sure that they are able to identify kids that may need extra support, and we're able to welcome them into our programs. But again, I also want to stress that all of our programs and services are open to the broader community, and we do a certain amount of advertising to make sure that people are aware of the services and they're able to access that through our website and visiting us at the center. And they had one other question too that I'm not sure if I answered.
I don't recall. You answered.
Perfect.
You answered that question, but I do have another question.
Excellent.
So at the $167,000 is
Yep.
a lot of money. That's amazing. So what area, is that a big increase from the previous one? And if so, where will the increase go? And where is the biggest need for funding in your organization?
So so specific to our gala, that was twice what we had planned. That was twice what we had anticipated. So it was very wonderful for us and much needed, because it allows us to, again, kind of step up to meet the need. Generally, the most expensive is the one-to-one therapy. All right, just because it can be very intensive and very very costly. And so what this allows us to do is to offer more kids the opportunity, we're able to grow. So we, not specifically because of this, but it will help speed up the process of hiring another full-time permanent person. Certainly, we can't do that just off the backs of a single event, but we look, about the sustainability long-term. So we'll be increasing our staff complement, and as a result, most of those dollars will go to support one-on-one counseling to make sure that kids will get it at no cost, essentially.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And a question to that, when you're thinking about potentially hiring another full-time person, is that a therapist? Or do you contract out the therapists, or do you have full-time therapists on staff?
So we have a mix, and so what we do actually is that we have currently one single full-time therapist who's our lead therapist. We have 2 permanent part-time therapists, and then we have a variety of contract therapists. And those contract therapists are typically have areas of specialty. We have one that's a music therapist, one that's a certified play therapist, for example, and that gives us a certain amount of flexibility in terms of being able to meet the needs and not having too many staff on roll. But as the demand goes up, then we're looking at expanding that program by converting some of our part-time permanent to full-time. So.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Perfect, you're welcome.
Sorry. Thank you very much, Councillor. Brian, thank you for your presentation this evening, and please make arrangements to come back. We've been having a few chats with Kim Rossi, and she certainly has been keeping us well informed regarding some of the newer and more expanded programs that you have. So we're pleased that we're able to make a difference.
We appreciate the support. Thank you so much, Rose.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. We have a motion moved by Councillor Bernay, seconded by Councillor Murray, that council receive and files information the following delegation regarding Christian French Child Advocacy Centre Niagara update presentation by Brian Bratt, Executive Director, and I will open the vote. Thank you, and I will close that vote, and that carries. Thank you.
Thank you. That motion has carried. We move on now to 10.2, the Regional Councillor update. If you would come forward, please, Councillor Foster. You clearly have the entire evening off, sending us a large package to keep us stimulated. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, I always like giving you a little bit of reading as what's going on. I'm really glad Brian made mention of the Mayor's Golf Tournament. Thank you for sponsoring back into that. I know our Rotary Club here in town for 2 years now with our Bike the Bench lands also provide funding as well. I think our community is solidly behind what it is that they're doing and how they do it, and I think it's an important area. And if people are looking to give money at the end of the year, that's a great organization to be considering. There's been, a few things going on in my life too in the last few weeks. Pretty busy to say the least. I'm going to comment on a couple. One was the hospital grand opening that Councillor Pachariva was referring to earlier. I was very proud to be along with Mayor Easton and everyone for the 2 o'clock ribbon cutting. And Mayor Easton represented us very well. A great speech, thank you, Mayor. And we had a chance to thank profusely both Sam and Premier Ford on being able to do their part to help make this a great thing for our community. As Councillor Pachariva pointed out, it was back in the 2003 timeframe that we made a decision, and I got to tell you, that was a battle that we went through at that time. I mean, it was an east-west split that occurred on the council. I'm sure John got it as well as myself as well, but some really weird views on the hospital within the community type of thing. Anyway, we were able to go and actually put forward a $2.3 million contribution that I know the town was able to keep and fund along when the actual funding went through. It was kind of interesting. We had to decide how that was actually going to be raised. We actually did we did a $231,000 a year, I think, John, when we were doing it for 10 years on the taxation. So anyway, that was very worthwhile. I consider that one of my better moments on Town of Lincoln Council. And also at the region, both Mayor Easton and I were advocates for the region providing funding. Quite interesting, the discussions that went on there. Some of my fellow councillors from St. Catharines couldn't understand, why they should be supporting hospitals, other than in St. Catharines. And we kind of pointed out, well, we supported through our taxes the hospital that went up in St. Catharines. So anyway, we made the strong case, and that the region was able to bring in a solid amount of money with it. And I was looking at the donor board, and really I would have liked to have seen Jim Bradley's name on the actual line that came in from the region. He was a huge advocate for it. Both Sandra and I spent much time with him, and he helped make a strong case in and around that as well. But I think he would have been very proud at our event the other day. So I'm going to go to kind of the opposite extreme, from brand new to not so brand new. I had an opportunity to visit the two wastewater treatment plants in St. Catharines. Got to tell you, it was much better touring there than it was in Niagara Falls. If you want to sort of compare wastewater treatment plants, I think the one in Niagara Falls would be considered a good Model A variety. And I think there was a couple of Edsels that I was looking at in St. Catharines. So certainly they are a little more modern. Certainly there have been upgrades put in place. The one in Port Dalhousie, I will tell you, there has been some incredibly good work done there. And they have got state-of-the-art when it comes to some of the final processing that goes on within it. Major construction project over the last few years to put that in place. That was actually a pleasure as part of the tour that I had gone on. But it reminded me that we need a number of infrastructure upgrades. It's something that I have been hammering away at for years. When I was on this council, I know John and others that have been on, they know that I was always hammering away at that here, and continuing to do that at the region. Simply put, decisions made in days of yore to not be spending on some of these capital improvements that were needed, simply put, was a mistake. And so we continue to try and fix some of those mistakes as we're moving along. And so speaking of investing, we are now into the real full swing with the budget at Niagara Region. We had our first major meeting last week. I had the pleasure of, much to the chagrin of our chair, deferring a motion that was coming up about capital spending, and the main reason for that was we had a few councillors who decided that they wanted to go into individual line items within the budget to discuss the merits of whether or not there should be a new truck for a certain division, this type of thing. And I know here at this council over the years, we've come to realize that, you know, it's not our job to be going in and worrying about the details. We let staff come back to us and tell us, this is what we need. We're not pulling your leg. We need to be doing this stuff. So anyway, we're going to see as we get into our budget meeting Thursday, I think, Mayor Easton, it's our next one where we're going to go with that. Just to give you an idea, Niagara Region, it's approximately $6 million for 1%. On the budget, so we won't know the exact number until full assessment and everything else is seen, right? I provided you some interesting information, and by the way, so both Mayor Easton and I had this dropped on us basically a couple of hours before the meeting the other day, and suffice it to say, it led to some very interesting reading and continued reading since then. The full package has been given to us as to where they want to go with our budget situation. So as you know, I seconded a motion saying, staff, please try and come in with 3.5%. So staff came in with a budget that basically said, we have pared back absolutely to the point that we feel we can pare back. This is a bare bones budget that's coming in front of you. And if you want the additional 34 million to be reduced to get you to 3.5%, here's what you got to do. And so it was a comprehensive overview of programs. There's a variety of pieces that come into play with this. We had a long closed session to talk about some of the ramifications of all these things as well. Okay. I'm not sure where this budget's going to land when you guys are doing your thinking here at Town of Lincoln. I'm not sure where it's going to land. If I was to do my best guess on the thing, 9% is where we're going to land. Okay. That's going to mean that a lot of those programs that we all care about are still going to be there. A lot of the asset management that we've talked about is going to be continuing on, and we're going to be doing what we're doing. Both Mayor Easton and I don't go to visit these wastewater treatment plants to catch the ambiance of the facility. We're going to we actually go to see what it is that we're talking about. And I walk away from that every time saying, we've got to do better on the asset side of things. We have to make the expenditures that are really required to go and do this. So there's some good news on a variety of things. Waste management. Waste management, we may see a slight decrease. However, and you're all going to hear this, and I'm going to be hearing it loud and clear from the Chamber of Commerce and from BIAs and all these groups. This means there's a significant change going on to the way recycling pickup is going on. The recycling, the provincial producer program, does that sound right? Yeah, I think that's a proper way of saying that. There's a bunch of exceptions, and some of those exceptions are, well, we don't have to pick up from businesses. We don't have to pick up from the Lincoln Center after an event that's gone on there. We don't have to pick up from the Conservation Authority when they're doing the recycling and stuff like that. There's a series of about 6 or 7 different things that to me is somewhat, as was quoted in the St. Catharines Standard, my quote, this is insane. A business here in Beamsville, if they were to package up their cardboard, take it home and set it out in front of their house, the provincial group is responsible to pick it up. If we set it out in front of the business, they're not going to pick it up because that's a business and they don't have to do that. Again, degree of insanity that's going on with this. And those places that we have here in town where we have a residential up in the top part and a business in the bottom, you can't mix those recyclings. It's going to have to be clear which is which, so, because they're not going to be picking up the one. Again, degree of insanity that's going on with this. I remember the evening, I think Sandra and I were looking at each other saying, okay, well, this is fascinating. So anyway, the wastewater, or the waste management should be okay. There's Niagara Transit, Mr. Patrieva knows more about that than I do, but the initial coming in was looking quite positive from the Transit Commission. I think there's a fundamental problem going on for the Transit Commission that is affecting transit systems right across Ontario right now, and that is the colleges and the universities have seen dramatic decreases in students that are coming into play, particularly the international. And I'm not sure how that's going to affect the transit at this point. I'm used to doing my teaching down there and seeing full buses coming in. They're not so full now. So anyway, we have some challenges there. And of course, the elephant in the room is the Niagara Regional Police Services. They've come in at about 11% more than previous years with their budget, which affects the overall budget by 4.55%. I mean, that's direct above and beyond on the regional budget. I'm not sure where that's going to go. Again, if I was a betting person, I would bet that the region is going to say, we don't think so, come back with something better, and then we're going to end up at the provincial group, whatever it's called, OCOP, or whatever the case may be, and see where that goes. So, but we shall see as that one is going on. So I provided those snapshots for you. Please, if you have any questions about any of the numbers, again, we're trying to find 34 million in savings out of a budget that is going to be incredibly difficult to do. I would say the likelihood of that happening is pretty slim, but at least we're taking the opportunity to go through and do a bit more review of some of those programs and make decisions as we're going on. And that's my report for tonight.
Thank you very much, Councillor Foster. Councillors, any questions? Go ahead, Councillor Patrieva. Go ahead, Councillor Patrieva.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Rob. Thanks for coming tonight. Thanks for the report. And I just want to personally thank you for looking after the lights at the corner of Ontario and King. People, I've received so many emails and text messages, and social media was losing their minds because there was no advanced green. And I messaged Rob on Sunday, and within an hour after making that telephone call, it was fixed. So thank you for restoring some insanity to downtown, because like traffic was backed up past Stadelbauer because of the construction, and the assumption was it was because of the construction, but thank you for fixing that. So you've allowed the stress level to lower immensely. So thank you.
What you guys don't know is that he has a hotline over to my house, and if I don't answer it immediately, he gets a little concerned. Just to also let everyone know, the corner of King and Ontario was to have been completed by the end of October. There's been some delays. I had a quick discussion with the director. Apparently there was a few issues in and around the rebuilding of the lights and making sure that that's all working appropriately. And then some weather issues came into play. So the expectation is that's going to be finished shortly. weather permitting. And then we can all take a collective sigh of relief and say, Ontario's currently done. So,
Very true. Councillor Russell. Thanks, Councillor Patriva.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To Councillor Foster, I'm just wondering if you can give some insight into what businesses are supposed to do with their recycling if it's not being picked up. Again, this has been a topic of conversation with the BIA for the last little while. And I know even just from the town standpoint, we're already seeing like increases in residential garbage being put into our local collection areas in parks and whatnot. And again, I fear this is going to be a much larger issue with, again, the addresses of the packages removed, but just the cardboard sitting there stacked up to our garbage cans and recycling bins. Thoughts?
well, clearly, the province is basically mandating businesses to take care of their own recycling. So that cost is going to go back onto businesses to deal with. We've examined it at the region from a overall costing point of view of saying, well, should we go and actually take care of this recycling? Well, here's the problem, is that the current contracts are with the provincial group, and they won't be allowed to do it. So we would have to hire extra trucks to go around and do this as well. So, and suddenly, we're not in a situation where the province is taking and these producers are taking the responsibility, but we're ending up costing everybody probably twice as much when it's all said and done. Reality is, and the decision was made at regional council now, this is what the province has mandated. There's been, I'm going to take a brief step back because we had originally talked about this back in the spring, and we had told the business communities, look, we're going to see what we can do with the province to try and straighten this thing out. They made a final decision at the end of October, basically saying, no, we're not going to have this stuff being picked up. They're on their own. Or you as municipalities can go and pick up the cost of doing this. Well, this was a bit of a problem, to say the least. There's no equitable way of doing this in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to be willing, and I know Mayor Easton is going to be willing to talk to people about this, but this is clearly one of these scenarios where, personally, I think the province has dropped the ball on it, and advocacy is going to have to continue. We've, though unfortunately I didn't get down to the Niagara days at the legislature, but I know that was a topic that was being brought up again. And it's a topic that's been brought up through AMO. And I think the other thing is that I suspect you guys will be going to Roma. By the way, I've never ever been to Roma. But when you're there, this is another one of those things that you may want to be having a discussion about, because this is directly impacting businesses when it's all said and done. And I think it's truly unfair to be putting business onto the backs of the residential taxpayers when it's all said and done. So,
Thanks. And follow-up, Madam Mayor? Through you, do they have the ability to, again, have an agreement with the service providers to collect it and they pay for it on a regular basis? Or is it they just have to actually go take it to the landfill and recycle it there directly?
what I'm really worried about is that a lot of this is going to end up in the landfill when it's all said and done. So that's my personal concern about it. It's up to businesses to go and do what they're doing with this, unfortunately.
So again, just to clarify, so the only option is for them to take it themselves. Like there isn't an option to reach out to the service provider and say, hey, we'll pay X fee per year. You pick up our recycling as well, and it gets extra revenue for that SP, but at the cost of the business. Or is it they actually have to take it themselves?
So if you're talking about the truck that is currently passing in through, that is currently picking up recycling based on the contract that's going on with them, the answer would be no. That's not a possible situation, because they are going to have to do something different and separate with that recycling than what is going on with the stuff that's being picked up from a residential point of view. again, there's a degree of insanity that's going on with this. I'm just not sure where businesses are going to go with this, Adam, so.
Okay, thank you for that.
Councillor Reimer, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Easton. Thank you, Rob, for coming again so many times during the year, and thank you for this insight into the budget, although it's not rosy. But we've had a couple of meetings already with our tax, or with our budget deliberations, and Director Tunikaitis reminded us the other day that in big overall pictures, as a municipality, regional and municipal, we receive roughly 9 cents of everyone's tax dollar, total taxes that somebody would pay. We only receive that much, and we have to share that with the region. And we've had this discussion before about tax reform and the transfer payments or lack thereof from the province, or any type of consistent funding that would trickle down, dribble down from the province. Is there anything that you've seen or that you've heard or that you've experienced? I know the province is paying a little more attention now lately to the region. Is there anything that you can, it just, we are very thankful for the money that we have got over the course of the last few years from the province for our, for funding some of our infrastructure. But as far as being able to budget, it's very difficult to budget when it's not a stable and not a consistent type of thing for us to, fund all these infrastructure, the non-sexy stuff, right? That's the stuff that's going to get us in trouble over the years if we don't keep up on that. So is there anything you can add, or anything you can, you've seen or any insight? Through you, Mayor Easton.
I pressed the wrong button, sorry. I love the term unsexy because my first, I'd say about 10, 12 years on Town of Lincoln Council, we were putting pipes in the ground and paving roads, and you can't get too many people excited about that as it's going on. It's a lot more fun to open Rotary Park and all these other type of things, right? Mayor Easton and I have been actively involved with discussions at the region on this exact topic over the last number of years. Gary Zalepa, the Lord Regional, or the Lord Mayor of Niagara on the Lake, brought this up as a topic of discussion back, I'd say, Mayor, maybe about 5 budgets ago. We went into quite a detailed discussion in and around it, and just the unfairness that's coming into play. The level of responsibility that we have for infrastructure is incredible. And the fact that we are so badly underfunded is a real problem. My own personal view on the thing is that I really hate going cap in hand to the province and to the federal government saying, please, sir, we need some money, because if we don't, we can't fix our bridge. Like I think there should be a good, solid, if I had sudden dictatorial powers over the world, I would say, let's have a solid set of funding that's coming to us consistently. The gas taxes and stuff like that, which we were having before, most of that's going to transit. So, are there other things that we can be putting in place to do this? Is there some change to it? I happen to think property taxes are one of the most regressive forms of taxation going. I mean, it has no bearing on income in those particular homes, no matter what it is that you've got. So I think this is a real big picture discussion, Greg. I think I'd really like to see this as being one of those evenings where we sit and talk about how we think this can be fixed. If you remember back when Premier Ford was first elected, AMO came out with a proposition saying, give 1% of the sales tax to the municipalities. That was machine gunned by everyone. Every provincial party said, absolutely not going to happen. You just not on the table. So this past year, as you guys know, unfortunately, I didn't get to AMO, but there was a strong discussion about it again. And again, the province basically is looking at it saying, no, we're not going to do that. So I guess we keep up the advocacy. We see what's going to go on. Maybe we should do the model like Toronto does and come in with a budget that's 400 million short of what we need and put the hand out and say, give us the money. I don't know. There's lots of interesting stuff in front of us with this. So I haven't given you a real great answer, but I'll tell you, I think this is one of the key things that we have going these days, to say the least. So.
I agree with you, Councillor Frost, just the advocacy, because I'm looking down the road of this, of budget, process for us as municipalities and the region, and it just, the property tax income is, I forget, Charlotte probably said what our percentage-wise is, but that's our biggest income by far. And so, but that's the only way we have to do what we need to do. And so it just becomes it gets to be frustrating, so.
Well, and I feel sorry for you guys in a lot of ways too, because you go and you figure out exactly what it is that you're trying to do. You're trying to make sure that you have a good budget that takes care of infrastructure and takes care of the operations within this municipality. And then along comes, this whopping big increase coming out of the region. But, no matter what it is that we have, those expenses are never going away. I mean, I made that commentary, and Mayor Easton to some degree the same thing when we were in front of the committee that came through about governance. And it's like, we got to get this financial thing fixed because, it just is going to continue until some point in time where we just all put up our hands and say, that's the end. We can't do it anymore. So maybe that's being a little bit negative. I don't mean to be negative.
No.
But anyway.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Mayor Easton.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Thank you, Rob, for your presentation this evening. And Madam Clerk, I'll ask you to put out the vote.
Thank you. We have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer, seconded by Councillor Timmers, that Council receive and file for information the following delegation of Regional Councillor Foster. Thank you, and I will open to the vote.
And thank you very much for having me, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I'll close that vote. That carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. By the way, I don't think I mentioned that motion was moved by Councillor Reimer and seconded by Councillor Timmers. We have no other items for consideration. Item number 12 is the motion to approve previous council minutes, and we're now considering item 12.1, council minutes of October the 27th, 2025. Do members of council have any questions? There being none, I have a motion moved by Councillor Benchima, seconded by Councillor Brunet, that council approve the minutes of the following meetings of council minutes of October 27th, 2025. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Mayor Easton. That vote is now open. And I will close that vote, and that carries.
Thank you. The motion is carried. Item 13 is recommendations from standing committees, and we are considering the following. The Committee of the Whole minutes of November the 3rd, 2025, the Budget Committee minutes of November 5th, 2025, and Budget Committee minutes of November 12th, 2025. Do members of council have any questions? I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer, seconded by Councillor Murray. The council approve the following recommendations from standing committees. Committee of the Whole minutes of November 3rd, 2025, Budget Committee minutes of November 5th, 2025, Budget Committee minutes of November 12th, 2025. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thanks, Mayor Easton. That vote is now open. Thank you, and I'll close that vote. That carries.
Thank you. And we move on to item 14, the notice of motion, and we have none. Item 15 is the reports of municipal officers, and I will now consider 15.1, the mayor's report. And I have a few items to follow up on, and I will probably make a comment about the regional budget. The challenge for us, of course, can't be underestimated. There's no question about that. However, I think that if anybody does not understand that trying to budget with zero-based budgeting and other methods that essentially make decisions, deliberate decisions not to do work, which is what's been going on the entire time that I've been on regional council, certainly is not doing any favors, and it's put us where we are, no question about it. That's compounded with the cost of items that we talked about extensively when we were discussing the Lincoln budget. So all we can do now is buckle down and try and do our very best to set priorities, and the staff have been providing us with some excellent reports on that matter. So it's not going to, 3.5% is not reasonable. Cutting out 34.8 million is not reasonable. It's reasonable if you're not going to have a look at impact, but it's not reasonable from any other perspective. A number of the items that we talked about earlier I won't mention, but I do want to mention that on November the 3rd, I attended the Pathstone Project Plaid. It's, again, another fundraising entity that is supported through the Mayor's Golf Tournament. And the money that's raised during the month of November for Project Plaid goes directly to municipally hosted walk-in clinics, of which we have one in the Fleming Center. We were an early adopter of that, and it certainly makes it much easier for youth in particular to get access when it's needed and without having to ask for permission. The walk-in clinic at the Penn Center is like a storefront, and it's quite interesting to see how readily youth respond to the fact that it's just, they're pretty invisible, and that's the purpose of it all. On November the 5th, I attended a Greater Niagara Chamber of Commerce Niagara Business Leadership session. It was actually held in Lincoln at Walters up on Locust Lane. And Paul Moyer was the speaker, who we all know. He's known for the caramel apples. I'll just remind you that through a company called CleanWorks that was developed when Paul came up with a solution to listeria that was found in apples, the variety of apples that he uses for his caramel apples. During the COVID period, they started to use that technology and the science in grocery stores, particularly dealing with leafy greens like spinach and the mixes of lettuce, etc. They also have a new device that is, kind of very long, vertical, fits over the grapevine, drives up the entire row of grapes, sprays out the material, the viral antibacterial material that is used, and makes a huge difference in the quality of the grapes at the end of the season, particularly when you have a lot of rain. So we certainly wish Paul Moyer all the best. We're going to be going to a groundbreaking soon for his new apple plant, which will be on the South Service Road, just at the old Court Industry Building. And we'll look forward to that. Certainly, a good lot of jobs comes out of that business. A number of us attended Casa Orchid, which is located on John Street. And I think that for the most part, we were given blooming orchids, but I was given an orchid that wasn't blooming. It's an oncidium, if anybody knows anything about orchids. It started to bloom on Saturday. So I have to send a picture now to Councillor Reimer so he can send it to the grower. It's quite an interesting color. Niagara Community Foundation celebrated their 25th anniversary. It was held at 13th Street. You may recall that we actually have a Lincoln Fund in the Niagara Community Foundation. Probably a good idea to update it. And in the past, money from the golf tournament has also gone into that. And a number of organizations within Lincoln benefit from the interest on that endowment. I attended the Remembrance Day service at Jordan Lyons Park on November the 7th. Pouring rain, great turnout, lots of students were there. Councillor Murray was there giving the message from the region of Niagara. And we've already heard that we attended the Bravehearts Gala, and that was certainly very worthwhile. On November the 8th, I attended Valor and Victory, which was at Queenston Heights Park in the Landscape of Nations Park. I was invited to present remarks on as part of the Indigenous Remembrance Service. They start their recognition from 1812 on to the current years. This is now the 7th year for Valor and Victory, and it's a very special service. I certainly encourage anyone who hasn't been to one to do that. There's a number of ceremonies that take place during that. It's attended also by provincial and federal representatives, and the messaging is really not unlike what we heard at Soar Rezone Park in terms of the words before all else. On November the 10th, I was confirmed as the acting regional chair for the month of November, and so I've been attending some interesting events. Probably the one that would be of most interest to you is the one for AK, the battery plant in Port Colborne. There was a set of briefing notes that were given to me for that event. It was a celebration of the first year since they started working. And there's 560 employees on site at the present time. It's going to be quite an opportunity for jobs. It'll be quite something. November the 11th, of course, was Remembrance Day at the Beamsville Cenotaph, and a number of us were there. It was, as Councillor Pachariva stated, very, very well attended. I attended also on November the 11th the art show at that was sponsored by Creative Bug, which is located in Beamsville on Regional 81. This was an art project that had gone on for several weeks with youth. Looked to me like they were maybe up to 11, 12 years old. I took a number of pictures, and really some just excellent programming, and great to see that outside of what's being offered by the municipality. There's going to be a theater presentation at the high school, the old high school, by Theatre Bacchus. It's going to be a Christmas carol. And November 28th, 29th, and 30th, and December the 5th, 6th, and 7th. So there's lots of dates to choose from, and a number of local sponsors. So I encourage anybody that's interested to go to www.theatrebacchus.com. And I'm just promoting this because I'm very anxious for us to see more active roles for local theater and art and music. I just want to reinforce my own pleasure and also thanks to our staff, particularly our CAO, Mike Kirkopoulos, in assisting the West Niagara mayors over the last 7 or so years with the plans for West Lincoln Memorial Hospital, and also recognize the work of Councillor Brunet, who sat on the, and now that it doesn't exist anymore, Councillor Brunet, I can't remember the name of the committee, but it was the, what was the name of the committee that you sat on?
West Lincoln Memorial Hospital Foundation. No, West Lincoln Memorial Hospital Community Committee? No, Council, Community Council.
Yeah, it was really in its own way, somewhat of a watchdog committee, keeping close tabs on what was going on during the approval process. And it was very valuable that we would have for us to have a voice at that committee. Today, Councillor Njima and I attended, were you there all day, Councillor? Till noon. And I was just there for a couple of hours, but I wanted to let you know that we attended an education session that was put on by the Ontario Parks Association. It was an update on parks encampments. It was organized for staff, and really quite an eye-opener, and I really appreciate, Mr. CAO, the fact that that we had up-to-date information. Again, it's just very helpful to be exposed to some of the decision-making that's going on. So there'll be much more about this. My purpose for going was just to keep myself in a small way kept up to date, but also to support the staff who are going to be addressing these situations when they come along. But there'll be lots of decisions for council before that happens. And I also wanted to remind, or just to update you on, yesterday I went to Trinity Church, and it was a year since it wasn't the event in the tent, but it was a situation where one of the parishioners lived in a tent for a week. So she reported on that as part of a lay sermon that she gave yesterday. And so I was able to hear some of the commentary. I don't have the date. Now I've forgotten the date, but the CAO is going to tell me when it is because he's going to be part of the panel. There's going to be a panel coming up shortly. Again, this will be the second panel on homelessness and affordable housing. Are you part of that, Councillor Timmers? Okay. So I won't put you on the spot, Mr. CAO, but if you want to make some comments just to round out the discussion, I think it would be helpful for everybody to have the same information. And that's the end of my report. He's not jumping in with both feet.
December 2nd.
Okay. December?
The 2nd.
The 2nd, okay, December 2nd. So I'm sure there will be more publications about that. Mr. CAO, who's on the panel, do you know? Am I correct, you are?
Through you, Madam Mayor, absolutely I am on the panel. I was asked to participate this time. I will, once I get an update on who else is on the panel, I will make sure that council has that as well. It is at the Fleming Center, December 2nd at 7 p.m.
That's very good. Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Madam Clerk, I have a motion moved by Councillor Russell, seconded by Councillor Reimer, that council receive and file for information the following mayor's report. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The vote is in progress. Thank you. I will close that, and that carries.
Thank you. The motion is carried. We move on to item 16, and we have no confidential matters this evening. However, we do have bylaws for consideration. The 2026 rates, fees, and charges bylaw has been deferred, and it will be brought forward to the next council meeting that will be held on December 15th. So this evening, we have 3 bylaws for consideration. And if you have any questions, identify which number, and we'll deal with them separately if that is your wish. All right, I have a motion moved by Councillor Murray, seconded by Councillor Brunet, that leave be given to approve the following bylaws. 2025-56, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 89-2000, 8928, as amended, being a bylaw to regulate traffic and parking on local municipal roads, Schedule W speed limits. 2025-57, a bylaw to lay out and dedicate certain lands for public highway purposes as part of the Maple Crest Estates Phase 2C Plan of Subdivision and to assume the municipal services located therein. 2025-58, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2018-92 as amended, being a bylaw to provide for the maintenance of land in the town of Lincoln known as the Clean Yards Bylaw. There'll be no questions. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and the vote is now open. Thank you, and I'll close that vote, and that carries.
Thank you. The motion is carried. Item 18 is a motion to confirm the proceedings of the council minutes, and we will now do that through a motion by Councillor Russell, seconded by Councillor Pachariva, that leave be given to introduce bylaw number 2025-59, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held Monday, November 17th, 2025, being read a first, second, and third time. The bylaw number 2025-59 be enacted and passed, the mayor and clerk sign and seal the said bylaw. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
And that vote's open. Thank you. I'll close that vote. That carries.
Thank you. The motion is carried. Item 19 is council remarks. So before we motion to adjourn the meeting, do members have any comments? I see none. I have a motion moved by Councillor Reimer, seconded by Councillor Renchima, that the council meeting on November the 17th, 2025 be adjourned at 2050 hours. Madam Clerk, would you please open the vote?
That vote's open. Councillor Regima? Thank you, and I will close that. That carries, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. The motion is carried, and thank you, everyone, for your participation. This concludes our council meeting for this evening. The meeting is adjourned.